For more on this, for more on the ongoing crises in the PDP, I'm joined by Professor Simeon Nnah. He's a researcher and public affairs analyst. He joins me from Lagos. Welcome to the news, Prof.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers.
Good evening. Now, Professor Nnah, first of all, let's get your views on the gale of defection ongoing in the PDP.
Well, you see, the problem is that we Nigerians will forget a lot, but the internet does not forget. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. What happened in between 2003 and 2007 is repeating itself. We had an EFCC chairman then, who is now an NSA. And in those days, once the then PDP and Obasanjo in the saddle wants to get any governor, he uses the EFCC against that person, and the person will eventually, move over to PDP. The same man today is there as an SA. You know who I'm talking about. You recall that in 2003 election, that the whole of Southwest, apart from Lagos, in fact, the truth was that even Lagos was posted as having been won by PDP. Then some people began to comment. There were threats, and hours later, they said, INEC now said it was a mistake that they posted that they won Lagos, and they returned Lagos to the current president. But all the other states in the Southwest moved over to PDP. Mm-hmm. So it's the same game plan. Look at what happened in Delta. It's obvious that Okowa was being in and out of EFCC. And immediately after that, he had to move over to APC. Recall that when Comrade Oshomole, now Senator Oshomole, and the former governor of Edo State, was the chairman of APC during the reign of Buhari, President Buhari, he said, if you are a sinner and you cross over to APC, you become a saint. Okay. So Okowa was a sinner and is now a saint because he had moved over to APC. Again, recall equally that Senator Sani, former Senator Sani, said in those days that if you want to treat an APC person that has corrupt charges, the government will use deodorants. But when they want to handle opposition party, they use disinfectants. It's the same thing that we're playing out today.
Well, Professor Nnah,
a replica of what has happened before.
It's
not new. It's just that we forget easily.
Yeah, absolutely, Professor Nnah. But how much of the conflict in the PDP is about ideology versus personal ambition?
Are there ideologies in politics? My answer is no. Maybe I'll cast your mind back to when these parties were registered. A lot of people don't know what happened in 1998 that led to 1999 elections. Now, 3 parties were to start that election. But because of the agitation in the Southwest, the APP then, that later became APPN, now had to fuse with AD. I want to inform you too, you can check that out, that as at the time APP fused with AD has not completed a registration with INEC. However, because of the agitation of June 12th, it was agreed, there was a concession, that 2 political parties and 2 Southwesterners should contest that election. So, if you go back to the registration of those political parties, the late Bola Ige wrote the constitution of the political parties that contested election in that year. Both PDP and AD. The constitution was written by one man. So it's the same ideology. They don't have any, there's no difference in ideology. That is if they have any, because what our politicians are doing today, they are just interested in the next election. The politicians are not interested in you. I've tried to define politicians in several fora. Politicians in Nigeria are people who don't believe themselves, who get bewildered when others believe them. Politicians don't think about you. They think about the next election. Okay. That's why some of us are clamoring for maybe 5-year, 1 tenure or 6 years.
Well, Professor Nnah, speaking of them thinking about, the next election, how has the debate over zoning of presidential and governorship tickets, fueled this particular crisis?
Well, does the zoning work? Does the zoning work? Because the problem we're having in the PDP today is as a result of that zoning. Now, in the last election, the zoning should have been to the south. And maybe micro-zone to the southeast. Because the southeast was the only southern part of the country that have not tested the presidency. But however, you saw the emergence of another northerner. So is it working? It's not in the constitution, so it's a convention. So they choose and pick which one to obey and which one to disobey. So these are the issues. They think it's not constitutional, so they can disobey at any time they like and obey at any time they like. Now, if Atiku did not emerge in the last presidential election, PDP wouldn't have been where it is today. Again, if after Atiku emerged, they had allowed Awudowe as the chairman to leave, because that was the contention of people like Wike and the other 5 governors, that you can't have the presidential candidate and the chairmanship of the party from one zone. And I think that is fair and square. But they refused. 4 of them stuck to their gun until everything went sour. And today, they are managing and patching. I don't know.
So speaking of them managing, is the PDP, do you believe that, as of now, the PDP is doing enough to manage the grievances among aggrieved members and also reconcile defectors?
Well, people will say better late than never, but I can tell you for free that they have waited for too long. This issue has lingered for so long, and they are just, playing politics about it. I don't see how serious they are now, because even just 2 days ago or so, 3 senators defected from, which state now? Jigawa or so. Now, you see, and these are happening day in, day out. They are going to have meetings with the president, and after having a meeting with the president, they come to the ruling party. I thought that before now, they should have handled this thing, but they left it for too long. And it's already bad. One of my friends will say, if it's not too bad, it's already bad. You are only trying to, qualify how bad it is. I think it's already bad.
Okay.
I don't know how they are going to salvage the situation.
All right.
They are politicians.
All right, I'm sure they would, be able to fix whatever it is that's going on in the party. But thank you so much, Professor, for your time and for speaking to us.
You're welcome, and do have a lovely night rest.